Hi, this is Jeff Blauette, technical agronomist with Cooperative Farmers Elevator, and on this week's Field Friday segment, thought we'd just kind of talk about what stage our corn is in today, how far we are from kind of getting to the black layer that we always hope, maturity-wise to get to without any real problems, and so where are we at in most of the corn around. Probably by growth stage, we would probably say a lot of the corn is probably in that R4 stage. R4 would be basically some dry matter starting to accumulate in the kernels. We call it the dough stage. So if you would grab that ear and bust open those ears and grab a kernel, there's going to be some substance inside there that's starting to be a solid. So that's where we start to really get some rapid dry matter accumulation into those kernels. We're there in general. When we're there, you would say our kernel's about 70% moisture. Probably, obviously, 30% dry matter in that kernel, so you can see that accumulation is there. As we start getting, and there are some fields that are there now, where we have some dented corn, and I've got a picture of side by side with some that's just starting to dent versus some that's not. We all know what dented corn looks like, but once it starts to dent, we're going to call it R5. If most of the kernels are denting. At R5, we're basically probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 35 days to black layer. So if we have corn that's dented today, here being the middle of August, you're looking at about mid-September for black layered corn. Black layered corn obviously is, probably 30-35% moisture. So if we get there by mid-September, we'll have some good time for some more warm weather to dry corn down in the field, which will be good this year, especially given the commodity prices. But so at R5, you start to see dents. That corn at beginning of R5 is probably 60% moisture, so 40% dry matter. R5, we kind of break that stage up as we get into, the milk line forming. So that dent is starting to shrink that kernel down because there's more dry matter accumulating in it, and as it starts to move that milk layer down, so like a quarter milk line, if that milk line's progressed a quarter of the way down, that'd be 5.25 as far as a growth stage. 5.5 would be half milk line, and so forth. But once we get to that, that dent stage, we've got about 30 days. So just to give you a feel, I think we're going to have a lot of corn in that mid-September black layer stage, or late September for later planted or later hybrids. But still, we should have most of the stuff kind of getting towards black layer before the 1st of October. And so that should lend itself to a potential earlier harvest, and like I say, lower dry down cost at that. So that's where we're kind of stage-wise with our corn here today. So what can happen yet if we get some really hot, dry weather? We think a lot of our really high-end corn hybrids today, probably one of the things they gain yield on is by kernel depth. So that grain fill and filling that kernel without any stress all the way to black layer, having that a non-stressful period, we have adequate moisture and adequate nutrients, we're still adding a lot of yield potential. So if we are lacking some moisture on some lighter ground, if we quit raining, or if we're lacking nutrients, we're starting to see a little bit of firing on the bottom of these corn plants. If they are starting to run short, we may not have quite the kernel depth. So the yield's not done yet. We're getting closer, but there is some yield that's going to be added here in the next 30 days, obviously. So hopefully we can keep the disease away, keep the insects from causing any problems, and keep the weather, a more moderate temperature, and decent moisture to keep that nutrient availability adequate in the soils. So just wanted to give you a stage update where we're at with this corn. I think in general, where it didn't have wind damage, it looks pretty good. So we'll see how we progress here this next month. So with that, that's this week's Field Friday segment, and we'll see you next week.